Welcome back, brothers and sisters. Braden, older version of Tim, second legacy, and thank you so much for stopping by. Today, we have got to grace you with the presence of the extended clip of the Thomas Massey comments around the Second Amendment this week. We only showed you one yesterday, but this is something that you're going to want to see. Let us know what you think in the comments below, and of course, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn the notification bell on as we go through the 2A commentary world, dressed and armed with humor and sarcasm to boot. With that said, Tim, nice wig.
Oh, this is my actual hair. Yeah.
Oh, I meant nice hair.
Yeah, I'm not wearing a ball cap today.
So that's underneath your ball cap every day.
Yeah, most people don't know that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's impressive.
I know.
It's
pretty cool.
Powdered wig style look. It's kind of gone out of vogue, but I like how you're bringing it back.
I'm trying to bring it back. Yeah. You know, I posted a picture of me with my natural hair on Twitter, and I said, old guys with wigs were the GOAT and stuff like that, and people were quick to point out, well, they were like 40 years old. They weren't old, and like, yeah, they lived on average about 50. So yeah, they were in their twilight years.
Were old.
So
yeah, they were.
But there were some 30-year-olds.
There were a couple,
yeah.
The really advanced ones. Yeah, exactly. Well, sir, in an old powdered wig, which is your original hairstyle, are you ready to dive into the Thomas Massey? I think he may have made you proud with your original hairstyle. I think he did good as.
Yeah. Thomas, actually, his natural hair looks like this, but he cleans it up a bit and changes his appearance just so he looks,
makes sense.
More modern. But yeah.
That's cool. Let's get it. Let's see what he's done with his hair and see his words on the Second Amendment, because there's some pretty good ones here. You'll enjoy this. Is the entire clip. This is number one. We got three.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to support this bill, but reluctantly so. I mean, we should not just extend these or acknowledge these rights for law enforcement officers. Every individual in America who's not a criminal should be afforded these rights. Gun-free zones make people less safe. They just advertise sitting ducks. That's what the Gun-Free School Zone Act does. It was passed in the 90s, and it hasn't made kids safer at all. In fact, it's made them less safe, and it creates this conflicting patchwork of laws where the default situation is that law-abiding citizens are criminals just for getting near a school. So
yeah,
I love the way that he delivers that.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the absolute truth. They did pass that nonsense in the 90s. I believe it was in response to Columbine, and think about this for a second. You're a lawmaker. A tragedy happens in a school, and it was in the case of Columbine. Obviously, it was a shooting, and so your response is to make it illegal to carry a gun onto school property. I'm pretty sure they were breaking laws already when they went in there with the intention to, harm other classmates and teachers. So it didn't change anything for the better. If anything, it just emboldened those that want to do harm to others, because now they have a safe environment to go do it in.
Correct. And I mean, the sitting ducks piece. That's what you're referencing.
Right.
It's 100% right.
And which is why we see, actually, the majority of states do allow for permitting and things like that for teachers and citizens and stuff like that to carry on school property, around school property. They're acting like it's some big deal that Tennessee just passed a bill saying we're going to allow teachers to arm themselves if they choose to take the training and choose to do so, not being mandated. And then they're all up in arms like, oh my gosh, we can't believe putting more guns in school. It's going to fix anything. It's like, but they want guns on cops. They want guns at airports. They want guns everywhere they go. But dang it, they don't want their kids protected.
They lost their collective minds on that one.
Yeah, they're nuts.
That one, and as we go into this a little further, if you guys were not familiar with what was happening in the Tennessee arming of teachers fiasco that the left really is fixated on Tennessee, it's kind of like their new Texas. I don't know why they're fixated so hard on Tennessee, but arguably Tennessee's more red than Texas is. I mean, arguably, but that's a different thing for a different time. They were making a big stink about the fact that we were arming teachers in all of our schools in Tennessee, and it was making them into war zones. Literally, Tim, we covered it. The bill they put forward had more gun control requirements in it for these people to carry in schools than the left asked for the entire population. I mean, they had universal background checks, they had school sign-offs, they had LE sign-offs, they had mandated training, and they had mandated permitting. And I mean, like, this was a lot of requirements, and they're acting like,
it's just a big free for all.
Open a case of Mosins.
Yeah, like,
it's just silly.
One for everybody. You got a criminal record, two for you. I mean, they're just, they're so out of their minds with this stuff, and I don't, and they go beyond just saying we don't want guns in schools. They get so wound up that you see people like Davey at K-12 Shooting Database or Davey Hogg talking about the whole situation where they go beyond just putting guns in school. Then they want to say that, well, the teachers are going to start shooting students. What if a student reaches into a backpack and they take it 5 steps further, just trying to make their point, like with these crazy what ifs scenarios.
Right.
Davey over at K-12 Shooting Database does it all the time. Like, he was the one that was posting pictures of like a drawing with a kid reaching into a backpack. What's a teacher going to do when she sees a kid reaching into a backpack? Just gun him down? Like, no, because like 28 or more states, I believe, allow firearms to be carried in schools by various parties, not law enforcement. And what hasn't happened in any of these schools? A teacher hasn't just willy-nilly shot anybody. Matter of fact, they even went so far as to say, well, what happens when a kid finds the teacher's gun and steals it? Hasn't happened.
Nope. And to your point, it's either 28 or 29. You are absolutely correct. This is not a new, novel idea that Tennessee is doing. They're just getting in line with a vast majority of the states.
Yeah.
I mean, they obfuscate individual facts from the argument to where they make it look like this massive, huge deal. And then when you show the entire argument, which is what we are apt to do on this channel, they go, oh, we look like idiots. Well, you still mean. I mean, it's so silly.
I know.
They can be defeated just by observation and study. I mean, they really can.
I mean, all you have to do is listen to them long enough. They wind up contradicting themselves every other day. They do
over time.
Yeah.
But so you just said something that was so good for what we're referencing here. There's a advantage to being the calmer head in the room and delivering a point without looking crazy. And the left really likes to do the emotional theater of screaming and using expletives and blaming people and saying blood on your hands and doing really extreme actions for attention. But that's looked at eventually as, okay, you're a little obnoxious. Like you're kind of unhinged. If you can deliver your points in a calm, concise manner like this, without anger, without calling people names, without profanity, without yelling, that's where you may reach the most people. And I can vouch for you personally. I don't know about you, Tim. It is hard to do. I mean, very hard to restrain yourself in some of these cases.
Oh, yeah. I mean, when somebody's that morbidly dumb and they truly think that they have the high ground, I think some of them do. I think others are just actors that
they absolutely
profit
do.
From
they
it.
Absolutely think they do.
But many of them really believe they have the high ground, that they have the moral high ground, and their view of the world is absolutely right. And we are just meat-eating, bloodthirsty crazies that want children dead. And they always say, well, we got to do this to save the children. Everything they do is about saving the children. These are the same people that back abortion, folks. So again, the hypocrisy, just leave them alone for 10 minutes. And when they say something, come back 10 minutes later and they will have contradicted themselves or said something completely stupid that kind of sinks the boat of the last argument they were trying to float. So anyway.
Well, it's the thing I always say when we're offline or online. It's the Democratic pillars, with its gun control, whether it's abortion, whether it's immigration, whatever it is, they cannot stand together. They have to have individual focus group conversations where they only talk about that one thing, and that's it. Because if you start talking about, like you said, an example, the abortion argument, and then you switch over to guns, where it's if we could just save one life, you kind of go, well, wait a minute, hold on, these two things don't.
Yeah, you're fine with
gel.
800,000 to 1 million people being killed, but you just want to save one life over here.
Right.
That's hypocrisy.
And I think it is hypocrisy, and I think it's also something we should mention really quickly. When we reference abortion and the gun control debate and we tie them together, we're not pushing anyone's abortion beliefs or trying to address the abortion conversation like that. What we're doing is we're addressing the blatant hypocrisy that is so out in the open you can't resist it.
Right.
I mean, it is literally a perfect contrast. So because someone said something in one of our videos recently, they said, hey, you're getting a little too conservative. And it's like, well, we're drawing juxtapositions and contrasts between competing ideas that are conflicting. So
exactly.
just so you guys know.
Yeah. And we've not, very rarely do we, outside of the two-way discussion, share our political views on Second Legacy. We haven't told you where, Braden hasn't said anything, I haven't said anything, where I stand on abortion. I like making fun of it because the left is just crazy about the subject.
Obvious, right.
But then they go out there and they say, oh, well, we got to save just one life. Forget about the abortions that we support all the way up till term. We got to save this one life over here. And it's just us pointing out the hypocrisy. They're not consistent in their views. We try to be consistent. I saw something on X today where they're talking about Dexter, a guy that was in New York that just got jammed up for 10 years for manufacturing firearms, perfectly legal activity. The guy was not a criminal, had a great job, good person within his society and his community and all that good stuff. And he just got jammed up. And there's people out there saying, well, if the script were flipped and he was a leftist and you had a Republican over here, the Republican would be more than glad to put him in jail because he's just a leftist. And it's like, no, you're talking to a guy that has literally said, I hope Hunter Biden gets off on the Second Amendment excuse, right? Seriously, we were applauding. It's like, please do that. Please cite Bruin and please cite the Second Amendment to get Hunter off of his charges, because that helps us. I'm not so hypocritical to go out there and say, oh, well, Hunter needs to go to prison, but Dexter needs to be set free. Or I need to save one life over here, but you can kill a million over here.
Hold on. Hunter does need to go to prison, just not for the gun stuff.
Yeah, he's got other problems.
But he's got other things he needs. That's a different thing.
Right.
Oh,
so
good Lord.
Yeah, we will use hot button issues when they show hypocrisy, but we're not saying 100%. Where we stand on those issues. I'm not even going to tell you who I'm going to vote for. I take that personally, and a lot of people I know do. So no, I mean, yes, I think you can probably ascertain from everything we've said on our respective channels, plus Second Legacy, I'm a conservative, okay? But that's a very high level thing. There are many different levels of conservative. You have, social conservatives, you have fiscal conservatives, you have, and the same thing for the left, right? So yeah, you can't go out there and say, oh, well, you guys are just getting too conservative. No, we're just talking about the Second Amendment and showing hypocrisy.
Yeah, we are. We're drawing these things together because they are not. This is not a vacuum. This is an all-encompassing skirmish.
Different issues feed into different issues. It's not. It's not that black and white. There's a lot of gray areas and a lot of overlap in political conversations. Anyway, go ahead.
Very true. No, that's good. I think that was good. Let's get back to Thomas Massey, though, the original wig maker. This is number 2, where he stacks on that a little bit.
Legislation, written and introduced legislation to end the Gun-Free School Zone Act, which, by the way, was ruled unconstitutional at one point. And then it was rewritten by Congress and reintroduced. I think it's still unconstitutional. But I've also sponsored legislation, or at least voted for legislation, to get rid of the gun-free zones in national parks. Why should somebody who's visiting land that is owned by the taxpayer give up their constitutional rights just simply to visit a park? Are we making anybody more safe by saying you can't carry a firearm, you can't exercise your God-given right to defend yourself in a national park? Seems ridiculous. It should be the other way around. If this is a national park and the Second Amendment applies nationally, then that is the one place where you shouldn't be prohibited. All places you shouldn't be prohibited, but that is specifically one of the places that the Second Amendment should apply to.
I love that.
It's true.
Again, it's a simple point. It's an easy point to digest, but it makes you ask a question. Wait, why is that illegal?
Right.
It's a national park.
Right.
Hold on a second. Schools is one thing. Now we're talking about national parks, but it all goes back to the root of saying where you can and can't carry a gun and the arbitrary nature of the decisions. It just doesn't make sense. It's a national park. You're a national citizen. The Second Amendment is a national right. Like, what's going on here?
Right. No, it's absolutely true. And if the federal government doesn't respect your constitutionally protected rights, then who will? Right? I mean, if they're going down the road of like, well, you can carry guns everywhere but on federal property, well, that's a problem because it's a federal document that enshrines our rights. So you're being a little hypocritical there once again.
It's pretty interesting when you look at it like this and you lay it like this. That when you deliver something of this simplicity in this simple of a presentation, it does make you ask the question why.
Right.
And that's the thing. If you can make someone go, wait, why is that? That's when you have.
But this is the left's argument to his argument, right? So he just made the argument for carrying in national parks. Well, the left would say, but you want children shot dead in national parks.
No, I don't.
No, that's not what we're saying. But okay, next. We need that meme of that lady with the glasses on with the wide eyes and spitting from her mouth. That was so popular, the meme during the early 20s. Wow. It's just they always come back with something out of touch and just complete lunacy. And they'll tie in, but we've got to save children. That, or they'll tie gang violence and drug gang violence to childhood cancer. I mean,
we saw that happen.
Yeah, I mean, this is the idiocy of the left and how desperate they are to counter an argument like Thomas Massey is making, which is based in logic and well documented within our Constitution and Bill of Rights. Everything he's saying. The only way you can not agree with him is just say, well, I just think guns are bad and I think we should repeal the Second Amendment. But that's not the argument the left takes, because they know that's not a winning argument.
They would lose.
Right.
Because they'd lose.
So they got to go down all other roads. Save the children. You want children dead. You want this person dead. You're just crazy. And they go down every road they possibly can. And except just saying, well, we just don't like guns. We want the Second Amendment abolished. So, yeah.
You'll really like this third clip then. This third clip is where it all encompasses together. And it just goes, gaboosh. This part, you will like this third clip because the way he ties this together, the delivery is really solid. This is number 3.
That the Second Amendment should apply to. And furthermore, we had the 2008 Supreme Court case which was DC versus Heller. It said that the Second Amendment doesn't just apply to the National Guard, for instance. It applies to all Americans. That is what the 2008 Heller decision said. And then in 2010, the McDonald versus Chicago extended that to apply to all the states through the incorporation doctrine. So the Second Amendment is actually a restriction just not on the federal government, but also on the states. They can't infringe on your Second Amendment rights. So, I support the bill, but the problem is here we are carving out special rights for people that carry a badge, when in fact these are rights that were enshrined, protected, given to us by God, but protected by our founding fathers in the Constitution, a document that we've sworn an oath to defend and uphold.
It's kind of crazy, and I always like to bring this up. The Supreme Court has held that police are not responsible for your safety. They're not even required to respond to your call for help. Okay? And so most people on the left don't know that. They're like, well, you should just lock yourself in your room and dial 911. Well, what happens if it takes them 20 minutes to get there? Or they just don't show up at all. That happens too. They get so busy, they have to prioritize calls because they've been so busy defunding the police. They don't have enough people to respond to all the calls. And so you get put on the back burner. And the same people that believe that don't want you to have the ability to protect yourself. So you don't have police protecting you, and you don't want the federal government allowing or protecting the right for self-defense. So what are you saying then? You just want to be a victim? When somebody knocks on the door and says, give me all your belongings, are you just going to go, oh, wait 1 second and go get them and hand them to the person? Do you really think that's going to save you? I mean,
no, what it is.
In Canada, they're saying, put your keys by the front door.
That's true.
They literally do that now. Yeah.
We covered that. Yeah, that was a good tie-in. The thing that, honestly, what it comes down to, Tim, is the old adage that you have to break some eggs to make an omelet.
Right.
That's exactly what we're talking about here, because if you look at what they are referencing and what they're recommending is, well, you shouldn't have guns. We have a police force. Well, if the police force can't be everywhere at every one point in time, what they're saying essentially is it's okay for the outlier issues to happen because the overall population doesn't have guns, so the net benefit outweighs the net loss of those people being affected by crime. That's what they'll never tell you because they can't say it out loud.
Yeah.
The very idea of gun control and overbearing government and a over-controlling government, the idea is they cannot block every single crime. So those that are affected by crime, I'm sorry it happened to you. We're going to try to figure out how to get it back to normal for you, but it was enabled by no guns, but the net benefit of having no guns for society outweighs your need. It is the needs of the many versus the needs of the few. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah. That's straight out of the Communist Manifesto.
Oh, there it is.
It's the greater good argument. You know what? I just want to Americans pride themselves on being individualists, right? And
absolutely, we do.
I want to be left alone. I don't want the police standing in my yard 24/7. It's not because I have anything against them. I just don't feel I need it. I don't want it. I don't want somebody that's not part of my family hanging around my property. I'll take care of myself. Right. Thank you very much. I live out in the county, out in the country. And I mean, even if I had to make a phone call, we have 10,000 people in our entire county, and any given time we have 2 deputies on duty. Now, do you really think they're going to get across the county if they're all both deputies are responding to a call on the other side of the county, and I have something happen here in the middle of nowhere? No, I want
It's
to take
just
care of myself and
idiotic.
my family. So you just go do you and just leave me alone. And that's all I want in all of this. You know, it's like the left can't just leave well enough alone. They can't leave American citizens alone. They got to control every aspect of your life to feel like they're accomplishing something. And most of us just
That's
want to be
exactly
left
what it is.
alone.
That's exactly what it is. But that was Thomas Massey.
Yeah.
I like me some Thomas Massey.
I do too. He's a great dude. I've had the chance to eat with him and meet him, and he's just a great all around dude. Very, very pro Second Amendment, obviously. I just love it when Christmas rolls around and he posts that picture of him and his family with machine guns in front of the Christmas tree, and it just makes all the heads explode. Yeah. Can you believe this is an elected member of Congress? I mean, yeah. What I can't believe is an elected member of Congress is Jeffries or any of those other clowns, Pelosi or just name one. You know, Schumer, or a little Nadler with his pants pulled up to his chin. You know, it's
not the high-waisted fiend. Oh, I love the high-waisted fiend. That's the best nickname I think I've ever given anybody.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one.
I like nicknames.
Maybe Trump will adopt it if he ever watches an episode.
Oh, if he'd ever get off his trial. He's so busy these days.
Yeah, he is. He's kind of jammed up, having a good time in court. But anyway.
Yeah.
But hey, every day he shows up in court, it's just the polls go higher and higher for him. It's having the exact opposite effect that they wanted.
So weird.
It's kind of funny.
So weird
to watch. But anyway.
Well, take us out.
Are we
Tim.
done? Oh, I wasn't paying attention.
We're
done. Well,
I know. That's why I said take it out.
I want to thank our friend Thomas Massey for that great speech on the House floor. We need more people like him, folks. We just have to keep fighting because that pendulum, yes, it's rocked far left in the last 4 years, but it will start to come back to the center, maybe go a little bit right. And all we have to do is just keep our nose to the grindstone, and we will emerge victorious. Thank you for watching Second Legacy, and we'll talk to you guys soon.